And in one way or another, of course, you could wonder what the problem is with mass formation. Because if people feel socially disconnected and they now, through the mass formation, feel connected again, what is the problem then? Well, there is a problem at many levels. First and foremost, because in mass formation, people always need an object to be destroyed. They always need a certain part of the population to focus their frustration and aggression on. That's one thing. And maybe even more important is that the new social bond that emerges in a process of mass formation is not a social bond between individuals. It's always a social bond, a bond between the individual and the collective. So people feel this new, very intense solidarity, but it's always a solidarity between the individual and the group. And the solidarity and the social bond between the individuals even deteriorates more and more as the process of mass formation continues. For instance, in the Corona crisis, we've seen that if someone got an accident on the street, the European, on the websites of the European government and on the websites of the Belgian and the Dutch government, and I think in Italian it will have been the same. In Italy it will have been the same. But the websites mentioned that if someone has an accident, you were no longer allowed to help that person unless you possessed or you had a surgical mask and gloves at your disposal to help that person. And you could continue in the same vein. For instance, when your parents were dying during the Corona crisis, you were not allowed to visit them just because of the risk that you might contaminate other people because of the visit to your parents. So that all show, there were many examples, but they all show very clearly that the solidarity was not a solidarity between individuals. It was a solidarity between the individual and the collective. And that's what's happening time and time again in every totalitarian system, in every mass formation. The longer the mass formation lasts, the more the social bond between the individuals deteriorate until society arrives in a radical, paranoid atmosphere in which nobody trusts the other anymore. So that's what typically happens in a totalitarian state, and that's what also typically happens in every kind of mass formation, and even, you could say more, even in every intense group formation. When the group identity is very important, for instance, when soldiers need to, or on a mission, which is very important and dangerous, they will never allow that the members of that mission have sexual relationships, just because they know that if members have sexual relationships, they might choose for their partner, for the importance of the well-being of their partner over the importance of the group. So that's something, a very easy, concrete example of why in a mass formation, the bonds between the individuals always weaken. Yeah, so there's this process of mass formation. It really has huge effects. Like for instance, it focuses all the psychological energy and all the attention at a very small part of reality. First, and in this way, it is really similar to the process of hypnosis. It's really a kind of group hypnosis, in which also in hypnosis, the hypnotist also focuses the attention. First, he withdraws the attention from the environment and then focuses all the attention through his hypnotic suggestion on one point. And from then on, the person is no longer aware of the environment. And exactly the same happens in a process of mass formation. First, spontaneously, all the psychological energy is detached from reality, and people are confronted with this free-floating anxiety, frustration, and aggression. And then this story is disseminated in society, this story about an object of anxiety. And from then on, all the psychological energy is focused, all the negative energy, all the anxiety, frustration, and aggression is focused on this small part of reality that is indicated by the narrative. And from then on, people see all the rest of reality doesn't have a psychological impact anymore, simply because all the representations referring to reality outside of this small circle of attention indicated by the narrative is not connected to psychological energy anymore. So no matter how well the rational arguments against the narrative are, they will make use of representations that are not inside the circle of attention of the people who are in the mass formation, and they will simply have no effect at all, no psychological effect at all. And this process is so strong. It's so strong, for instance, under hypnosis, you can see that very clearly. It's so strong that if you use a simple hypnotic procedure, as happens all the time here in certain hospitals in Belgium, to focus a patient's attention on one small part of reality, you can perfectly perform a surgical operation in which you cut straight through the skin, the flesh, even the breastbone of the patient to perform an open heart operation. The patient will simply not notice it. And in exactly the same way, when someone is in mass formation, the leaders of the masses can make him lose everything, his health, his wealth, his future, the well-being of his children. That was exactly what was happening in Nazi Germany and in the Soviet Union, and what was really mind-boggling to the observers from abroad. It was baffling when they noticed that the population in these totalitarian states was ready to sacrifice everything they had, even their own lives, without hesitating. And that was simply, they had never been seeing someone like that before, simply because it was the first time that a totalitarian state emerged.